Buying a business. Is it really a good way to get wealthy, to make money, potentially even become rich? Or is it just a huge money pit? So I did a video a little while ago where I said I was going to be buying a business. I won't go through all the details as to why there. I'll put a link down below. But the short version is I have come to the conclusion that buying a business is probably a much better strategy than building a business. Building a business takes a long time. If you can acquire something that already works, that's a much easier process. You then just have to refine it. So customize it and make it better. I have been trying to do this over the past 2 months now at this stage, and we're into crunch time, the important month. So the business is supposedly going to be sold, hopefully to me, at the end of this month. What has to happen is we have to create what's called a sale purchase agreement. Basically, it says, I agree to buy the business based on these terms. So as long as everything is, as we've listed here and as we've agreed, then I will go ahead and I will purchase this business. It hasn't been going as smoothly as I would like. So there's a number of items I'm going to run through. I've made a list here and I'm going to give you the full details. I'm also going to tell you how much this has cost me so far. In the last video, again, I did a summary of the costs up till then. So I'll let you know if it has cost me any additional money. What's happened in the last 2 months is a heads of terms agreement. What that means is I have said it's a handshake agreement that says, look, based on everything as you've told me, I will go ahead and I will purchase this business if I am happy with everything and if everything proves to be true like you've said. Now, coming on to the last month, what we've been collecting. So the very first month was November, and then we had December. And in December, we were collecting the legal documents. So that's everything from ownership of the property to lease agreements on vehicles, materials, tools, anything that the business owns. It can be computers, all those types of things. And then also looking at contracts with the staff, how much are they paying staff, what contracts are they on, what's holiday entitlement, all the nitty-gritty elements, making sure we're happy with everything and making sure that the business doesn't have any, skeletons in the closet, if you will. So that all went well and that bit was fine, but here's where we've run into some issues. The main place we've run into some issues is around the funding. So the money that someone is going to give me to buy this business. The way it was going to be structured is this business in particular had a lot of assets. So it had a lot of things that it owned. And I had a funder in place who said, look, we're happy to lend you the money you need to buy this business based on the assets that the business owns. The problem has been the owners of the business don't want us to come and view many of the items or the assets just because they don't want to tip off the staff to the sale. So when it comes to selling a business, some sales you will see staff will be made aware, in the run up to the sale. Other sales, they like to keep it, under their hat and they like to keep it private. So, and that's absolutely fine. The problem it's presented is because we can't go and send people to value the business, value the assets, that presents an issue in terms of them lending the money. So what we're trying to do now is say, okay, well, on day one of us buying the business, I can't give you as much cash as I had hoped to. So how are we going to work around that? And I've sent them some suggestions. I might go into further detail on that in future videos, but suffice it to say, we need to just figure out a better solution for how I'm actually going to purchase the business. The second aspect comes around property. So there's property coming with the business, 2 commercial units. And again, because I can't get a valuer onto the site to actually go look around the properties and say, yes, we're happy to lend on this, that's also something that we're trying to work around and find a way around this. One potential option is something called a personal mortgage. A shout out to James Sinclair. You should definitely check out his YouTube channel. That's largely what inspired me to go out and buy businesses. And by a quirk, we actually helped him with one of his very first books through my publishing company. But he mentioned a lot of these things in his videos as well. So we're talking with them about that potential if I can't get someone to come and value it from a mortgage lender. And the final thing is I had hoped to meet the key operator, so the person running the business. The sellers have decided that they would rather, again, as I said before, keep the whole sale under wraps. They don't want to alert the staff to the sale until it's finally gone through, which is fine. But again, we're just coming up with a few items we could add into the agreement to make sure that that's all, safe in terms of taking over the business. So that's where we are. So we've hit a few roadblocks. Those are the 3 roadblocks that we've hit. I'm confident there's a way we can overcome them. The sellers of the business have said they're willing to be flexible. So hopefully there's a way around it. We can find a way forward, and I'm looking to close this acquisition by the end of the month. So effectively within the next 30 days, I'm looking to take ownership of the business. Now, as with all of these things, I've always grown up knowing it's not a good idea to put all your eggs in one basket, as they say, in case something happens to that basket. So I have still been exploring other options. This particular business, the one I've been describing, is by far my favorite. That's the main business I'm focused on acquiring. I'm also quite deep into that acquisition in terms of time invested. I've paid deposits. So, I am also incentivized to make sure this goes ahead. But you never know what happens when you're going through these acquisitions. And I just always think it's sensible to have a few irons in the fire, because my goal is within the first quarter of this year to acquire another business. So for example, if the sellers change their minds or change what they wanted for the business, or any issue could crop up that I couldn't predict. So I've started looking at a few other options. Some of these are really interesting, so I'll probably do a follow-up video about some of the other options I've been looking at. Comment below if you want information on them, and also comment below if you've ever thought about acquiring a business, or maybe you have acquired a business. I'd love to get your feedback, especially on telling staff about the acquisition. I've got really mixed feedback. Some people have said, I told my staff I wanted them to be aware, and then that way there was no issues in the transition. They didn't feel like they, were blindsided by someone new taking over. Other people said they really wanted to keep it under wraps and not worry them. So yeah, I'd really love to hear if anybody watching has been through that. Then on to the final part of the business buying process, and that's the money. How much is it actually costing me to acquire this business? So in the previous video, which again I linked to down below, I have spent around about £480 at that stage. What that covered was an advisor and also a lawyer to help draft the heads of terms. And the advisor gave me advice around due diligence, what questions should I be asking, and just a couple of other, pointers about the process. Incredibly useful, and it was certainly money well spent. After that point, when I placed the deposit, so I had to place a deposit on this business. This is not the case with all businesses, but with this one in particular, there was a lot of interest, and it was a very good business. It doesn't necessarily need a lot of work in order to make it profitable. It's already profitable. So it's not like a turnaround, it's not a distressed business. So I had to pay a deposit for that. The deposit I paid was around about £5,000. So essentially at this point, I'm all in for about £5,500 on this particular business buying process. The next part is then to have all of the legal documentation reviewed, and then to create what's known as a sale purchase agreement. So here is where I have, if you like, an unfair advantage. So I actually did a law degree at university, quite a prestigious university here in the United Kingdom, Surrey University, and that allowed me to review the legal documentation and understand it. And on top of that, has probably saved me around £10,000 to £15,000. So I went out and I got a range of different quotes from lawyers, and I said, look, if you were to do the legal due diligence here, if you were to create a sale purchase agreement and just handle it all, what would it cost me? And that was kind of the range. So as you can see, the legal elements of these acquisitions can be really expensive, and that could have pushed, the amount of money I'd spent to nearly £20,000 on this acquisition. So that's a key piece of information. I'm actually potentially thinking about creating some sort of community or resource where I will just share, what I've learned about due diligence and what you should ask if you are buying a business, how you can finance a business, a lot about the process, about, potentially share some drafts of heads of terms agreements and, sale purchase agreements and things like that, which of course people could use. So comment down below. I'm thinking about building a community all around buying businesses. So if that's something you're interested in, comment below, let me know. That's something I might put together if there is enough interest. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. As you can see, on the road to business buying, it's not straightforward. We've definitely run into a few issues, but I'm still feeling really confident that I can get this business acquired by the end of the month. And of course, I will update here on the process of, the next steps, how it actually goes when we go to sending the agreement, when I take over, the process of building the business and what my plans are for it going forward. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Give it a like if you got value. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to follow along on this business buying journey.